Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a very special impromptu show here from Toulouse in France. We are at Aeroscopia, the Airbus museum. Although it's not officially linked to Airbus, it is a museum dedicated purely to the history of French manufacturing here at the Airbus facility. Right behind me, you're going to first, a lot of people are going to be like, wow, look at that Caravelle. Aeroscopia, I believe, are the were manufacturers of Aeroscopia. Exactly what happened to them in terms of their history, we don't know. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a walk around and a wander around this fantastic facility. I've been here before. We're going to see the A300, the first of the Airbus wide body aircraft that were manufactured by Airbus. We're also going to see the Guppy. Remember that, the predecessor of the Beluga. As well as that, behind me I've got Concorde, we've got the A380, we've got the A346, amongst a lot of other stuff that we're going to have a real nosy around. And a big shout out as well to Sophie from the museum, who I've just met, and thank you so much for your last minute attention. Really appreciate that, Sophie. And here we go, let's have a little walk around. Okay, you're going to keep me posted on the okay, so this is the entrance. We're outside the gates basically at the moment, folks. A400M, so was that the original variant of the A400M with those carbon blades? Is that where the carbon blade technique came from? Was that the first to include the carbon blade? Okay, so what we're going to do now is make our way in. Just to give you guys an idea of exactly our position here in Toulouse. As I mentioned, oh look, there's coming in. Isn't that my plate? But as I mentioned yesterday, ladies and gents, we are in the heart of the manufacturing area of Toulouse, of Airbus manufacturing. Again, I have to emphasise, this is not an Airbus facility, it's an independent museum, but they do tours around the Airbus facility. You can go and see the A350 assembly line, you can go and see the A380 assembly line, and as you can see, Ethiopian's 350, beautiful aircraft, sitting there outside of one of the many hangars here at Toulouse, beautifully contrasted against old historic style buildings. But we're going to go in now. Let's give you a little idea. You can check these guys out on Twitter, on Facebook, as well as other social media platforms. That's basically what we're here for, folks. Aeronautical Museum. And that is probably the cleanest Concorde I've ever seen. To say, we'll have a wander onto that ramp. Well, actually, there's a no entry point there at the moment. Obviously, we have to follow protocol. The mask is going on now. And we obviously have a system, as they've implemented around the world, of one-way systems. So we have to abide by that, and obviously look after people as well. So here we go, walking into the museum now. Okay. So have a look at this. Jilly, just check your audio, just in terms of my check your audio, 1 2 1 2. Are we good? Yes, I have, yeah. Does it? Okay. Well, it shouldn't do. Is it better? Is that better? Check it on the actual feed, yeah? Okay, so folks, look at this. Sorry, no, carry on. Are we good? Okay. Okay. Well, when you say it looks okay, it's more a case of what it sounds like. Can you? Okay. 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 So look at this for a. That's a great piece of. Imagine building that. That's the craziest Lego model I think I've ever seen. I mean, obviously a lot of people have been to the little miniature parks that you can go to where it's a Legoland, isn't it? But anyway, some great historical photographs up here, of course, of Concorde. Nice place. Okay, hold on a minute. Right. Okay, how's that? How's that? Is that better? Be great if we can get this sorted out before we start, yeah? Okay, I'm just going to go to standard. This is the. I'm going to use the camera mic. Okay, now we're on the normal mic on the camera. Okay. Can you double check for me? Yes, I can. Yes. No, you're absolutely fine. Forget about it muting you because it's absolutely fine. I can constantly hear you. I've got a constant audio from you. No. So can you just feed me back on the audio that's coming through to you, yeah? Okay, I'm just going to try it one more time because obviously I'll try if I can to use the lavalier. Check, check, 1 2 1 2. Okay, putting the actual mic in now. Check, 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 check. All good? Okay, right, we're back to where we were. I wonder if that's where Blue Peter got their insignia from. But that would be a good one for the quiz, wouldn't it? That's a Caravelle. That's the engine of a Caravelle. So here we go then. Merci. So a very well-stocked shop here, folks. Interestingly enough, when you look at that prop, that's about the same size as the prop on the of the A380 Ram air turbine prop. That's about the size of one on a 320. That's pretty crazy, isn't it? But like I say, well-stocked shop here. Lots and lots of models, T-shirts, choc ices, peanuts, all sorts of memorabilia, models for the kids and the adults. Great set of T-shirts as well, baseball caps, all kinds of stuff. So, let's have a wander through, shall we? That for a Look at that for a model. GP? GP, you copy? Okay. Okay, let me just... what we're going to do is we're just going to wait for this this party to go through. Let's just get legs. Just as out of respect, folks, have to be respectful to people who come into the museum. Just have a look at these models. Look at that. The old, wow. Right up to the all scaled models, so within scale of each other. Look at that. Gotha, the old Gotha. Wow. Okay, here we go then, ladies and gents. So we have our little pass, which we're going to scanner. Should give us a... There we go. Perhaps not that. So up the steps we go into the museum. Wow. This kind of gives you a good idea of and that is, to be honest with you, let's try and get our bearings in terms of where we are here, because yeah, no, I'm trying to figure it. That's pretty crazy though. I think this is the southern end of the airfield. I think this is the, yeah, because obviously there's the runways, there's the entrance to the runways, right there. So that's going up that way, would be going north, I think, towards our position, which would normally be up around about there. So this is what we don't see from our position way up at the other end of the airfield. So as you can see, it's just a small portion of the Airbus facility here at Toulouse, along with all the administrative buildings that basically run all the way around there. So I think, to be honest with you, you could probably quadruple that, the size of that. Let me just tighten this up a little bit. Okay, here we go. Right. Might get a bit of a drop in signal, Gilly, just because we're walking in through. Okay. Okay, now we're into the museum, folks. And this is a fascinating place, I have to say. First thing that comes out right here that we see is the guppy. Look at that. Obviously, what's different with the guppy compared to the beluga is that this is a swing nose operation, whereas obviously it's a hinged up system that they utilise for the beluga. We'll go in there in a little bit. So some great historical, yeah, super guppy, yeah. So we're looking at basically the history of aviation as we go through the years. Some wonderful models here, which are displayed, which a lot of you folks will probably. So the little tiny. I think this would be French aviation, basically, that we're looking at here. Wow, look at that! Didn't know that they had a variant of the Stuka dive bomber, but it's not a Stuka dive bomber, but it looks very much like one anyway. But these are all obviously French. So would that be the? We'll have to have a look at that in terms of the HD 730. That's a French aircraft, but I wonder if the Germans stole the design and created the dive bomber. But look at this beautiful seaplane. That's the air transportation in terms of carrying passengers. The first sort of like real transportation was actually the seaplanes, the huge seaplanes, and this is just one of them. Beautiful, beautiful aircraft. Wow, look at that. Who would have thunk that? So commercial transport aircraft. The SE-161 Languedoc, which is something that I hope I have pronounced correctly, but what a fantastic piece of machinery that is. Now we're getting on to the bigger sort of like transport aircraft before we reach the jet age. Let's have a little look at the models across the range. I bet the A300B, look at that, folks. The first of the wide body variants from Airbus, the consortium. Then moving on obviously to the A310, the one up from that. Well, I think the A310 was fly-by-wire. I think that was the initial fly-by-wire. The A300, 600. There we go. Moving up through the years. Of course, ATR. The ATRs are assembled here in Toulouse as well. Of course, the A320 getting onto the fly-by-wire systems. A340. This is the 300 variant, I think we'll find. Of course, the 346 variant is something that we're used to seeing as well. So A330. So that's quite a good shot across there, isn't it? The Blériot, just seeing in the background there, that was the first, I think the first French aircraft to fly, I think. So more ATRs. Oh, sorry about that. A380. Of course, we all know about the A380 and what a great help it has been to Airbus in terms of their capabilities to move on in technology with the A350, of course, and the Neo aircraft as well, new engine option aircraft. Of course, the A400, which we saw outside, which we're going to go and check out shortly. Military transport, of course, as so many people know, but many people don't, that Airbus not only do the commercial stuff, they also do, they're very heavily involved in the military side of aviation. And right up to date with their most, what is already becoming an iconic aircraft, the A350, extremely popular and super efficient. the A350-9 there. Haven't got the 350-1000, but you only really need one. So there we go. Shall we move on? Of course, the early days of air travel. This is a part of this. This is an era of air travel that I find fascinating and just so iconic. And look at that, the plane that my dad flew, with, interestingly enough, some kind of was that some kind of, I don't know what that would be, some kind of counterweight perhaps. That must be a test aircraft, because it's also got something on the wingtips as well, or the wing ends. But yes, look at that. That's London Heathrow, isn't it, I think? Or is that Paris? That's Orly, isn't it? Highly unlikely they'd be showing a shot of London Heathrow in France. Yeah, that's Orly, isn't it? It's just I saw a BEA Trident there, that was all. But obviously it's, you know, and that's Dallas Fort Worth. So this is going through the era of new designs of airports, basically. So this looks like an early. So sometimes they would have models this size in the wind tunnels to test the efficiency of the aerofoils and so on and so forth. Another French. This is a French and German consortium, the C-160 Transal NG military transporter. Troop transporter, I would have said, more so than well, I'm guessing you could put jeeps and the like in there as well. Okay, so here we go. Let's have a step on to Concorde, shall we, folks? Let's just have a little look at her from this angle, because it's not often that you get to get above. Of course, Duxford and other places have a capability of being able to stand above and look down on this iconic jet. But it is incredible. Probably not one piece of carbon, I would have thought, or very early variant, very early type of carbon materials that were used on Concorde. In fact, to be honest with you, back in those days, it was probably the most advanced materials used, with titanium and so on and so forth. But what is interesting here, folks, as you can see, which pilots actually have mentioned in the past, is how far back that front undercarriage is. And that's why when they had to when they turned onto the runway, they had to literally trust themselves, knowing that that wheel is so far back, they would have to run all the way across, almost the right to the edge of the runway, before turning the wheel to get themselves lined up on the runway. So they would actually end up over the grass in the cockpit. Absolutely incredible. Incredible. So we will have a little wander through in a second. Just let these guys, I think we're going to go on board any second now. Let's do that. Okay. And of course we'll come to this beautiful aircraft in a while as well, the 300. Again, this would all be cable operation, ladies and gents, which is just phenomenal. Obviously those cables would be not one length of cable all the way through, it would be cables running to other systems that would operate other systems, almost like pulley systems, so to speak. Okay. Let's go on board Concorde. Now, which Concorde this is, I'm not 100% sure, but remember that? British Aerospace Corporation, BAC. The same people that manufactured the 111, the BAC 111. Leading edge is just like a dart, basically. Great to see how many people are actually queuing up here for both the Airbus tours and also walks around the museum. You can book online if you're coming out. So, you know, another reason to get yourself out to Toulouse to visit this wonderful museum. Okay, so are we going to be now? We're talking about seriously. Let's see if we can get ourselves on here. I can smell the age, if you know what I mean. Not a glass instrument in sight. All analog instruments. And look at this. I mean, all fuse switches, fuse boards. And of course, these are literally archaic onboard computers. You can see the fans to run those, to cool all these instruments through here. Just incredible. Flight engineer's position. Right there. We've seen this on the Brooklands Concorde as well, but look how tight the confinement is there. Just so tight in there. I think that's the nose operation lever there. And of course, the powerhouse, the throttles. Cool. So I believe that this may have been one of the test aircraft as well. So yeah, this is most definitely a test aircraft. So a lot of the instruments here replicating the main instruments on the flight deck, the main 6 instruments that you're. Look at these computers, man! It's crazy. Look at these computers. Probably get that in a microchip right now. Everything here that you see in this entire aircraft, we'd be able to get the technology onto one micro. Okay. Okay. Tell me when you're back. Okay, okay. Did we miss anything? Oh, okay, okay. So now whether this is a dummy layout for the interior that Air France did, or whether this was just a simulated layout for the test aircraft. By the looks of it, it's probably by the comfort arrangements of it, it looks very comfortable in there. Likely that it's possibly the actual layout as it was. Maybe they've got that from another Concorde. But look how small the windows are, folks. You okay, GP? Everything all right? How small these windows are. I mean, we're talking about probably 8 inches, I would have said, in height, about 4 inches, 5 inches in width on those little tiny windows. Not a lot to see out, but you know, a whole lot to experience when you're on board the aircraft. Okay, so like I say, you know, in terms of use of materials, not much carbon being utilised. That wing there, folks. Of course, no slats on the Concorde, no leading edge slats. It's flying wing more than anything else. No stabilizers. The wing just basically doubles as the stabilizer, just a whole internal stabilizer system, or external stabilizer system, should I say. Okay, so we're going to jump now onto the 300, the A300 again. Remember, folks, this is all. Whether we're able to get down there, I don't. Yes, we are. We are. That's good. So we will be able to get down onto the floor at some point. So let's. So this is where they're starting to use, obviously, titanium and the likes being utilised on the Concorde, but this is where they're starting to really experiment with modern, far more modern technology. Still no glass, still analog displays, but a lot more open plan on the cockpit than the likes of the Concordes and so on and so forth, and the older aircraft, the 707s, the DC-8s, far more easier for them to move around. But at this stage of flight, still having the third member of the flight deck of flight crew, which was the flight engineer, who would basically keep an eye on all the instrumentation, on all the engines, mainly just keeping an eye on fuel usage and engine reliability. And that down there, folks, that's your tiller, that's your steering tiller that we've talked about many times on Big Jet TV. Obviously one on the left and on the right. And what is also noticeable here at this stage is Airbus still utilising the old yoke system, the old Boeing yoke system, which was then, when the fly-by-wire systems were introduced, moved over to the side stick, which we'll see in a little bit. But obviously this whole panel here has now been it's been put into glass, basically, so eliminated the need for a flight engineer. And there's your jump seat, as it's commonly known. It looked very comfortable, but it would slide out, obviously, on rails there. Sat on that many a time with my old man on his DC-8. But there's your old galley. That's it. That's all you get. But this is interesting, what we're going to see here, folks. Look at this glass. Obviously, this has been put in so that you can see through and into. But what is important, you're looking down there into the cargo department. cargo compartment, should I say, department. But look at these cables here. I don't know if you can see those, but they are the cables that basically control, go all the way back to control systems, which will control the flaps, stabilizers, and so on and so forth, the moving parts of the wing. Whether at this stage they had electrical motors powering the leading edge slats, very possibly may have already moved on to electronics controlling those leading edge slats. And as you can see, you know, even for back in the early stages of developing the wide body jets, very open plan seating arrangements, which is pretty dark in here, I'm afraid, sorry. Can't really, but the old cigarette ashtrays, remember them? Remember the old ashtray? Anybody used to use them? The fold down, you know, it's not, yeah, look how big they are compared to what they are now. They're about the size as your average iPad now. Wow, look at this for comfort. Interesting that that this first class, I would classify, I'd imagine, is in the middle of the aircraft, over the wing, but looking very, very comfortable. Look at that. Have they got seat control? Got everything there, and also a double-sized ashtray as well, of course. Pull-out one, I think. I think that's one. I think there's a pull-out for your cup there, possibly. But look at the seat. Look at the legroom. Legroom's just unbelievable. But that's the. Oh, and look at this. Oh, look at this. Blimey, it's a bit much, isn't it? Never seen anything like it. Look at that. It's like something out of IKEA. Beautiful, isn't it? Look at that. That's obviously, this is obviously as it would have been for a private jet, I'd imagine. Right the way back to here, look at that. Oh, I'm just going to turn off and have a little snooze, I think. Look at that. Look at that. That's just crazy, isn't it? Wow. That's what you get on a BBJ, folks. That's basically the... an idea of, I like that. That's quite a nice setup there, isn't it? The bathroom with a shower. Blimey O'Reilly. It's crazy, isn't it? Wow, there we go. Oh, okay. We have to go back. So that's interesting. Are we able to walk down here? What does sortie de secours mean? Excuse me, is this the way out? Or do we have to walk back this way? We have to walk this way. Okay, okay. Right. Okay. So let's just keep the camera there. Merci. Wow. That's a good little tour of an A300 to show that they oh, here we go. Here's the exit. Hello. English. Bless. Okay, here we go. All I know is bonjour mama, bonjour papa. That's it. But there we go. Look at that. So those So the General Electric CF6 engine, early variant of, I'd imagine, that shows how long that engine has been running for. Many years, still powering A330s, along with even 747s. But incredible, incredible. So an interesting fairing here. I'm guessing that is some kind of vortex generator here on the wing. Something that we'll see many of on the Caravels wing. I'm guessing that is, as well as these small little vortex generators. So is this perhaps an early variant of the wingtip before wingtip designs were? Because if you can see, you know, this is basically to stabilise the outer part of the wing, because the outer edge of the wing is obviously the part of the aircraft that's going to be affected mostly by the winds or by airflow. So I'm guessing that those little vortex generators were to stabilise the wing flap or flex, and then of course this huge one here on the midsection of the wing. Have a look at that reg on Google. See if you can pick that up. How many years ago that aircraft was built? Utilising the, as you can see there as well, early version of utilising the horizontal stabiliser adjustment, pitch adjustment, which is something that in the early days they had. Wow, this was originally Laker Airways, ladies and gentlemen. Then Pan Am. Wow. Wow, Laker Airways, folks. Good chance I would have seen that in the Laker Airways. 37.5 years old, wow. And that's where everything originated from, folks, the Blériot. Look at that old wicked seat, look. It's nuts, isn't it? And again, that prop being the size of the A380 Ram air turbine prop. So look at this, moving on to the original Super Guppy, folks. Super Guppy being the one with the 4 engines, before they moved on to the Beluga with the hinged freight door. I mean, as you can appreciate, the length of this aircraft is quite short compared to the modern day variant, purely because you needed longer aircraft to get longer wings. But as we can see here, I think we're allowed on here 7 of 8. Are we allowed one more? Oh, it was intended for Laker Airways, was it? Oh, okay. So it didn't go to Laker Airways then. So what props do we have on here, folks? As you can see, well, I remember seeing many Pan Am A300s with the big Pan Am logo down the side. Remember that. I don't know what turboprop, the early turboprop era, powering this Super Guppy. But as you can appreciate, look at the side, just look at the how tall we are here. Look, you can see the people here. That gives you an idea of scale here, folks. And the whole system, in order to stabilize itself, would be hinged, but it relied on the front undercarriage to actually steer itself around. I don't know if we can see inside the cockpit there, but so as you can see the original cockpit area, probably taken off of an A300, I would have thought, and literally built around it is this huge assembly. It's just enormous. It's absolutely enormous. And of course a huge cargo loading facility. Wow. Let's see how far back that goes as well. It does go back quite far. So, originally developed for the 300, I'm guessing, and later for the A320.
Bienvenue dans ce super Dupi. Dans les années 1970, Toulouse s'engage dans le projet européen Airbus A380. Les éléments de l'avion sont construits aux 4 coins de l'Europe, puis acheminés à Toulouse, dans les flancs du super Dupi, pour y être assemblés. Prenez place, embarquez pour un voyage qui remonte le temps et découvrez la riche histoire de cette aire d'envol. En 1873, un ingénieur, avec une machine qu'il appelle l'oiseau en plume, étudie très sérieusement le comportement d'une aile sur les collines du Lauragais. Son nom, Clément Ader. De par le monde, les essais pour faire voler l'homme se multiplient. En 1890, Clément Ader décolle à bord de l'Éole, son avion, c'est lui qui a inventé le mot, il est propulsé par un moteur à vapeur. En 1903, c'est au tour des frères White de s'envoler. Leur machine volante, elle, est munie d'un moteur à explosion. De record en meeting, l'aviation est en plein essor. C'est le temps des exploits. Mais Toulouse se passionne surtout pour le rugby et les divas du Capitole quand survient la Grande Guerre. Au début du conflit, on ne compte que quelques centaines d'avions utilisés surtout pour des missions d'observation. À la fin, on se bat dans les airs, on largue des bombes et on a construit plusieurs dizaines de milliers d'avions. En 1917, Pierre-Georges Latécoère obtient la commande de construction sous licence de 1000 avions Samson 2 à 2. L'industrie aéronautique toulousaine est née. C'est Émile de Watine qui organise les ateliers de construction de Montaudran. À la fin du conflit, Latécoère a un rêve. Utiliser les avions de la guerre pour transporter du courrier jusqu'en Amérique du Sud. Didier Dora sera l'animateur de cette immense aventure humaine. La ligne, totalement inconnue au départ, va devenir un mythe. Des figures illustres vont la servir. Elle deviendra en 1927 l'aéropostale. Latécoère va alors construire de nombreux avions et plus tard des hydravions essentiellement faits pour transporter du courrier. De ses débuts à la fin des années 30, l'aéronautique fait des progrès considérables. Les grandes compagnies aériennes sont créées.
7 octobre 1933, ce drapeau qui flotte au vent du Bourget célèbre la création de la compagnie Air France.
Dans le monde entier, on construit des avions de légende. Certains seront exploités pendant plusieurs décennies. À l'aube de la Seconde Guerre mondiale, les avions militaires sont de plus en plus perfectionnés. Les moteurs développent couramment plus de 1000 chevaux. Mais seule l'Allemagne nazie est réellement prête.
Les avions de chasse allemands décollent d'un champ d'aviation de la côte de la Manche. Ils doivent protéger une escadrille de combat contre les attaques des avions ennemis.
À Toulouse, fin 1939, Émile de Watine produit l'excellent D520 dans des locaux à peine terminés.
Et en mai 40, il y a eu 200 avions sortis dans le mois, c'est-à-dire un avion par ordre de fabrication.
Mais le coup près tombe, l'industrie aéronautique est sous contrôle de l'occupant qui s'en sert pour son propre compte. Sur place, les fabrications sont stoppées. On tente de diversifier la production. Des bureaux d'études s'exilent à Cannes. En 1944, les usines toulousaines sont bombardées par les Alliés.
Ce paquebot aux 10 hommes d'équipage a une histoire. Construit en partie sous l'occupation, il fut démonté, emporté et caché.
Les constructeurs anglais et américains ont fait d'énormes progrès pendant la guerre. Les réacteurs se généralisent sur les avions militaires. Pour le transport et le civil, les premiers avions équipés de turbopropulseurs entrent en service. Les Anglais croient en la propulsion à réaction et dès 1949 font voler le Comet. En France, on reprend des projets d'avant-guerre qui sont dépassés. On construit des prototypes. On tente de rattraper le temps volé. 10 ans après la fin de la guerre, avec la Caravelle, l'Alouette 2, le Mirage 3, le retard est comblé. L'imagination n'a plus de limite. C'est à Toulouse que l'on met au point l'atterrissage tout temps avec, au manche, André Turca. Même si la Caravelle a eu un franc succès, le chiffre des ventes n'a pas réussi à atteindre les 300 exemplaires dans le monde. Désormais, quasiment plus aucun avion européen ne sera construit par une seule entreprise. Le temps des coopérations est arrivé.
Toulouse, qui a vu voler Clément Ader et qui voit aujourd'hui voler Concorde, trouve une vocation particulière à la fois dans l'enseignement, dans l'administration, dans la recherche et dans l'industrie pour tout ce qui touche l'aérospatiale.
Pendant ce temps, une équipe travaille en parallèle sur un nouveau gros porteur. C'est l'Airbus A300. Il décollera en 1972. Le projet est européen. C'est un tournant décisif dans l'aéronautique toulousaine. Avec 65% de part de marché sur les avions de moins de 90 places, l'ATR, fruit d'une coopération franco-italienne, est une réussite incontestée. C'est en août 1984 qu'il décolle pour la première fois des pistes de Blagnac. Le parc aéronautique s'étend tout autour de Toulouse.
Ça c'est l'usine.
C'est quoi une usine?
Là on construit la poste. C'est-à-dire que toi là on le prend.
C'est le nouveau? C'est le vieux? C'est lequel? Il a fait la guerre?
Regarde. La flotte.
Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Right. So, there we go, folks. Amazing to, again, to see that the hinge is just there, isn't it? That's it. That's the only hinge that basically attaches, apart from obviously all these umbilicals, that is the only hinge that attaches this entire assembly. It has to be said that is pretty flipping impressive. And of course the counterbalance is the front undercarriage. That's it. Crazy. Crazy. Okay. Alrighty. As you can see down there. In fact, that's not true. Look. There's a little screw out wheel jack system by the looks of it. Is that both sides? That must be both sides. It wouldn't need to be, would it? Or is it both sides, or is it just one side? Let's just have a quick look at that again. Yeah, there it is there. So it's an internal system which is obviously hydraulically operated, or in some way operated through an electrical motor, which you can see just down there. Yeah, interesting. So there you go. So I just wanted to have one little last look at this, which is quite interesting, folks, before we go down to the floor. Was this what date that this aircraft? Because that's very Spitfire-esque, isn't it? That D520, 1938. That was developed, I think. De Wuyteen. Very Spitfire-esque. And of course this, another 1940, another aircraft manufactured by De Wuyteen. It does make you wonder, doesn't it? That's got very much look of a Stuka. That's got the look of a Spitfire. So who came first? Perhaps you can answer. Send your answers on a postcard. Sorry. Well, that does make you wonder, because, oh look, what's this? What's this? What's this, Jilly? What's going on here? It's Charchie been here, is he? It's the Toulouse cat, yeah. Yeah. Le chat de la Toulouse. Wow, look at that. That's a great shot there, look. Look at that, folks. Isn't that great? Wow. Look at that look at the little plane above it, look. I mean, honestly, really? It's not a Photoshop variant, is it? Okay, here we go. Right. So we sorti. So that's interesting. What I would see as being a oh, got to press that button there. What I would see as being a Messerschmitt ME109. Don't tell me this is another French. No, this is an ME109. Okay, Messerschmitt AG Alemannia. Okay. So I wonder. Wow. That's an interesting thing to discuss in the future. Was this particular aircraft developed by the French and then stolen by the Germans in the Second World War? I don't know, but now we're on the ground. We can just get to see the size of the guppy. Just crazy. So we're going to start looking at things like the Mirage now. This is the Mirage 3C, one of my favourite planes. Not one of my favourite, but a favourite amongst many at air shows in the UK. They used to fly these in regularly from the French Air Force. super jet. Cessna 337. A lot of people are going, Cessna 337, I know that one. Crazy, look at that. And by the way, I don't know what these are, folks. I'm reading them off the board here. Very fortunate. All for one and one for all, isn't it? Wow, look how high that tail goes. It's crazy. Of course, this was all cable operated as well, ladies and gents. No fly-by-wire systems on here. This is a Jaguar, isn't it? Isn't this a Jaguar? Yeah. Look at that. Sepicat Jaguar. Wow, look at that. Isn't she beautiful, ladies and gents? Jaguar. Wow. Guessing that's his squadron markings. Proper old school. Look at that cannon. There's the cannon up in there, isn't it? It's got the back end of a Phantom. Kind of got the back end of a Phantom there, hasn't it? But look at that. Here. See the reheat petals, as they're commonly known, ladies and gents, which you see on the F-15s and Eurofighters and the like. It's another crazy jet fighter. Wow. Lots of little booths and things that you can go in here as well, folks. Get little videos. There's archaeological stuff there, of course, that's been dug up. A trip behind the scenes here, which you can walk through there. Yeah, it's still open. I don't know if it's maybe closed off at the moment, I don't know. Wow. Suck, bang, blow, squeeze, isn't it? No, suck, squeeze, bang, blow, is it? No, suck. Oh, I'm getting myself confused here. Suck through the front, squeeze it there, bang it there, and blow it out the back there. So this is where the air, obviously, the air intake through the main fan, then it gets compressed into the many compartments. High pressure turbine in the middle, low pressure turbines, high and low pressure turbines where the air gets compressed, squeezed, and then ignited, and then blown out the back. Which again has to be said that the actual, on the modern day jets these days, the amount of usage in terms of fuel and the drive that comes from the turbine, the internal turbine systems, is only 25%. 75% is driven by the air that is brought in through the fan blades at the front. Static blades here, titanium. Look at that. I think that's the engine out of this F8E Crusader. Look at this. Wow. And there's the refueling boom there, ladies and gents. Hold on a minute, let me just see if I can't tighten this up a second. Sorry folks, just let me tighten this up. Yes, a retractable refueling boom, which we've seen on the many jets that we've seen at RAF Lakenheath and Coningsby. Look how tight that cockpit is there, man. Crazy. This is off a. Has a folding wing capability, which means that it's on the Navy ships. Has a takeoff and landing capability from the aircraft carriers, and that would be something like, I'd imagine, the Sidewinder missile of some sort. That's a long aircraft, man. I'm guessing that would just basically be to house the house the engines. Look at the look how far back the wing is. It's crazy. And of course, we've been through the whole Concorde experience with the discussed the engines. These huge buckets that you can see there that would open and close to slow the aircraft down. And one very interesting bit of information that came out of when we were looking around Concorde, which was actually explained to us by one of our colleagues who was showing us around at Brooklands, which you can't actually see in these intakes here, but the design of these intakes was so unique that it had to slow the air down from supersonic down to subsonic in order that the engines could operate efficiently and effectively. Here's something that's going over to this A300, folks. Something that we don't think about when we're later on, when we're of course this is only going out to members later on, but something for our members to consider when we're watching later on the gliders, as we call them, at Toulouse with the A350s, possibly A330s. We might see, but more likely A350s, where we see the pylon, the aircraft without any engines attached to it. So this is the pylon, ladies and gents. The engine is obviously slung underneath and attached to this pylon. But what is interesting is, if you can see there, that is basically the mounting of the pylon to the wing. That's basically that, apart from other I'd imagine there are a couple more. There's at least one other mount system at the back of the pylon potentially, which holds that to the wing, which is all it needs basically. But it is impressive to look at that, to see how the wing, how the engine is attached, and there it is. That's what we're looking at basically there. And of course, I'd imagine there's wing attachments underneath there as well. Possibly not just relying purely on that single pivot or No, looks like that's... Oh no, there is another one. There is another one down there behind there. Just can't see it. So a couple of... just a giant pin that's going to go through that. So that gives you an idea there, folks. Amazing. It's always amazes me how high off the ground the Concorde was. But then probably about the same height as an A330 undercarriage, isn't it? I don't know. Still good, GP? Everything all right? Good, good. Okay. What's this? Ah, this is interesting. Look, we do see this from time to time. Apparently, these guys at Zoom have secured quite a lot of funding. But what this is quite interesting. Whether this is some kind of wind tunnel prototype, I don't know. But that's pretty crazy, isn't it? Look at that. I think it is. There's counterweights on it as well. Wow. Looking very much like Concorde. Looking very old. It might actually be an old Concorde prototype style. Let's have a little look around here. Wow. Obviously nobody allowed on here, but again another look into the cockpit of the Concorde. I was right. That is the nose up down activator. Crazy. Look at that for a flight engineer's panel. Flight engineer had a lot of work to do. The main thing, one of the main jobs for the flight engineer was to balance the aircraft during flight, so as to move fuel from one part of the aircraft to the other, in order to maximise its efficiency in flight. Okay, going outside now, folks. Look at that. That 340-600 was she was parked up at Toulouse when we came here the first time, from memory, and subsequently moved here to the museum. So I'm guessing you'll know what aircraft this is, folks. Of course, the ATR as well. It's a 600 variant. Okay, here we go then. Right, we're going on board the A380, I think, ladies and gents. Oh, okay. Right, we've got to go up into elevator. So that means that we might lose signal, Jilly, I don't know. Keep an eye on it. Audio's still good, everything fine? Good, good. Oh, sorry. Okay. Wow. Has it come back on? Oh, okay. I was supposed to go to the second floor. I think what I'll do is I'll just move that there, like that. I'll just put that back there, like that. Wow. So this is how high you need to be to access the upper deck of the A380, folks. It's crazy, isn't it? Wow. So we're now on the upper deck of the A380, and it is a walk around tour, which at the moment, there's the steps that you would normally walk down, but appreciably and understandably we are on a walk-through tour here, so this is pretty cool. Wow. Just goes to show the just goes to show the how big it is, basically. So I think this is a very early variant of the first class cabin, which basically has a fully wow. Okay. It doesn't look very comfortable, but I'm guessing that this is, again, it's just because it's a test aircraft, isn't it? So they would have probably loaded barrels to simulate passengers onto these aircraft. A lot of the times they just put, literally strap barrels down with water. Vino, anyone? God, it looks nice and cold there, Vino in there, doesn't it? Okay. So we walk down the stairs, keeping our fingers off of the rails, just to make things easier. Wow. So here we have, this is the kind of thing that we've been used to seeing. Which is the simulation of a passenger, I believe. I think I'm right in saying that, because I've seen test aircraft with these barrels positioned throughout the cabin. Whether that's for ballast or just literally weights and balance, I'm not sure. But obviously, as this is a test aircraft, I mean, it's just incredible, the size of this place. Look at this, it's like being in a building, isn't it? I mean, you wouldn't believe you're in a building. But this is obviously the initial test bed that we're inside here. So quite archaic upstairs in terms of the layout. But that was the early designs, computers, and here we have what I would imagine would be the simulation of. Imagine they're plastic, these barrels, obviously very lightweight, and are filled with fluid, liquid, I believe. So here we have a workstation for the test teams. There's your use different. That's what we're talking about when we look at wind tunnel testing. Airflow over wings and testing all sorts of emergency procedures, how quickly they can get people off the plane. I think Emirates did one and it was like a world record or something crazy like that. Still, look at this. Still coming through into here. Just gives you an idea. As you can see, completely stark contrast compared to what we saw on the A300. No cables here, all electronic fly-by-wire instrumentation. And, finally, the business end, the cockpit. Wow. Now, if you guys do want an experience of get an idea of what it's like to fly one of these things, book a place with the Emirates Aviation Experience in London, if you're able to, of course. They've got 777 and A380 simulators there, static simulators. They're not motion sims, but a fantastic experience. The sound that you get is a really good simulation of what it's like to fly these aircraft, and very much worth a visit. Tiny little place tucked in at the Docklands there in London. Get yourselves down there if you can. Okay. So you can see what goes on behind all the panelling, folks. It's a bit like in your house, you know, behind your nice painted wall structure, you know, as you can see here, you know, all nicely covered over, but it's just a mishmash of cabling and air conditioning pipes and so on and so forth going on behind all the plastic panelling that you see. All sorts of wiring and wire looms, sound deadening as well. This stuff that you see here is to deaden the sound of the outside, because obviously the rushing of the air is actually very, very noisy. And of course the engines, so they obviously have to, because of the skin itself being so thin, they have to put insulation in to deaden the sound. But there is, you know, there's piping for delivering water and all sorts of crazy stuff. It's all your fly-by-wire stuff. But mainly, a lot of this stuff would be onboard entertainment systems, carrying all the power down to the computers in the belly of the aircraft. Just to, you know, it's quite an achievement to be able to put all this stuff and hide it behind all the panelling. And of course, you've got quite a deep area there to in order to hide it. So yeah. Okay. So coming off the lower deck of the A380, look at that. Isn't that a sight? Obviously they've removed the engines, replaced them with what appears to be either cardboard or carbon fibre or fiberglass look-alike blades, which is pretty cool. And now we have the A340 600. And like we've discussed before, folks, look how thick and deep that wing root is compared to when you say, for example, look at the Concorde that we looked at, which is obviously a supersonic aircraft, needs to be a very thin wing, but it is a huge, thick wing at the valance. And of course, the big bulge there you're seeing, obviously, to house that huge undercarriage assembly. So back we go, downstairs. Okay, right, I'm with you now. I know what we should have been doing here. Up in the elevator, down in the stairs. A very good system, I have to say, here, where you basically, you know, don't meet people on the stairs, which is a good thing, you know. Everything all right, GP? Oh, okay, so we don't get to... Oh, we do get to walk around. Hurrah! Ha ha ha! Here we go, folks. Now, last time we did this was with our good friend Heinz in Germany, underneath the Lufthansa 380. Got a little bit closer, it has to be said, than what we're getting now, because I managed to get myself right underneath the wing. But that is one impressive piece of engineering right there. I mean, to be honest with you, when you look at that, it is just a scaled up version of what you see on the A320. You know, it's no different in terms of its capability and its usage. And this is something we've also discussed before. Is the tyres themselves, and when they get changed. Let's get that from the back side. So whether these were Rolls-Royce engines that were in the test aircraft, I don't know. But just everything's on a massive scale here on the A380. The flaps, you know, just massive. Everything is just huge. Full tread on those tyres. I think they've actually either put recons on or new tyres. So painted by the paint shop community, Toulouse, Hamburg, and obviously in the test colours. Wow, get up there. Look at the size. Now you can get a good idea, folks. When we talk about the empennage, or should I say the let's just have a walk back here to give you guys a clearer idea of scale. It is just so impressive. When you look at that against this 320 here, I think this is one of the first test aircraft with the 320. But look at the tailplane width of that A380, and then compare that to the 320. It is as big, if not bigger, than the wingspan of the A320. All good, GP? Okay. So I think this is one of the first test aircraft from Airbus. Should be saying Airbus. That just gives you an idea. Twice the height, at least twice the height of the tail. Everything is just humongous when you look at that. And here's one of the aircraft, which is a close to all of our hearts on Big Jet TV, and of course Av geeks around the world. A340 600. This was parked up. Okay. I think it's closed off, so we're not able to go on board her, unfortunately, because they you know, they're very limited in terms of being able to police it. So we'll just have a look around her. So look at that Reg GP. She always been a test aircraft, test bed. So this aircraft will have what you saw on the A380 is what there's still the same sort of layout that you'll expect to see inside the modern day 350s. Really, banks and banks of computers and equipment on board, which to simulate different scenarios. She's always been a test bed, yeah. Wow, she's a prototype. Wow. So she was stored in 2014. When we say stored, she was probably in that area that we saw where they currently have the AirAsia 339s and the first flight 2001. Wow. 20 years or 19 years in service, although still flying, don't forget, with well, she's actually being turned into freight aircraft now, isn't she? You know, very desirable aircraft for freight, because she's so long. Obviously, you have to balance the two things up together, don't you? The fuel burn versus the cargo capabilities. And I tell you what, let's look at the reg of this one, Jilly, because Whiskey Alpha India CFM. Okay, the original CFM 56 engine, still one of the most, I'd say, widely used engine in the world at the moment. Still powering the 737, the NG, right up to as far as the Max, the A320, 321, 318, even believe it or not, the Sentinel, obviously upgraded variants of these engines, but you know, the A340 300 was powered by the CFM 56, which we're still seeing flying today, don't get me wrong. Air Belgium being one air carrier that's utilising. Look at the amount of fan blades that there are in these older jets, but still very effective. Titanium blades inside the CFM 56. Test reg, yeah? Is that test reg? Wow. It's a prototype. This is one of the prototypes, I think. – 28 years old. Oh, it's nice being in the shade of this 380's tail, believe it or not. Look at that, the shade of a 380. Crazy. And like I said earlier, folks, over yonder, this is something that we'll see the other side of when we're up on the hill a little bit later with our members, as things start to heat up with the not just the ground heat, but also the test flying, and possibly might even see a delivery or two. So you're more than welcome to come and join us if you're a member on Big Jet TV a little bit later on. So what we're going to do now is walk around, just have a little look at the Aeroscopia Caravelle. So I'm wondering whether Aeroscopia were the original French manufacturers before the Airbus consortium was. That's interesting. Not seen that before. Must be just obviously been damaged during transit. But that's interesting, isn't it? See those little titanium. I think that's to guide the air, possibly the exhaust. Of course, the exhaust is that's the exhaust cone that you're seeing there, folks. That's why on the brand new aircraft you see them, and they're unblemished. But obviously, the more they get used, the bluer they become, which is great. I remember that on my motorcycle, on my motocross bike. Blue exhaust from the hot points. The hot point of the exhaust will always turn a beautiful blue, iridian blue. ATR utilising the modern materials of carbon fibre, with, however, titanium leading edge tips to protect them from ice, as you can see there. And these props able to turn, as you can see there, the variable pitch propeller, which will control the aircraft in flight, but also give it the stopping capability as well. Okay, back in the building, through the other side we have the 400M, the Caravelle, and finish off with that beautiful example of the Air France Concorde. Okay, here we go. The what, sir? Detail behind the wall. Are we talking about this ATR here? Is that perhaps they're talking about? Yeah, I think possibly somebody asking on the feed for me to zoom in on the aircraft behind the wall. Not sure what wall you're talking about, but is that perhaps the ATR there? Aircraft that is assembled here in Toulouse. Okay, here we go. Right, so what we're planning to do here they should have a little yellow brick road, shouldn't they, really? Ho 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 hee. Let me at him. Let me at him. Great museum. I think it was €14. It's nothing really. Yeah. Wow. So if you buy the ticket, folks, it's valid for a year. How about that? No. So here's that. There's the other two mounting points there at the back. And of course, when you look out on the wing, if you're flying and you see those vents, They're either outlets for the air that rushes up through there and goes through there, or intakes, one of the two. But that is off of a 380, believe it or not, folks. Crazy. So just that one little piece. Think of the componentry that goes into that and the manufacture of that, and then look at the whole aircraft as a whole. It just is incredibly impressive. Right, so is this the? Oh, it's a MiG, isn't it? I think it's a MiG, isn't it? Yes, it is. I think from memory, this was the. That was the U.S. Air Force's main enemy during the Vietnam War. Look at this. Saulnier. Wow. Still the same sort of technology that was brought up through the ages, utilising that style of engine. So here's a closer look. Little electric motor drive mechanism, which basically I think it was on a lock more than anything else. This particular I think it was just a one-way lock, this steering mechanism, which basically, or should I say, hello? Is that a cat litter tray? Is that a cat litter? That's just for oil, isn't it? He's got a little litter tray, isn't he? Bless him. But yeah, crazy. Yeah, the radial engine still popular up to recent times. Right, okay, so now we're going to go outside. I think this is a weather aircraft. Look at that for a radome. Shut up, big nose. Look at that. He's got a big nose, isn't he? Look at that. Weather or reconnaissance type aircraft. Back out into hockey. Now, it's the A380, folks. Let's go and have a little look at this Air Inter Caravelle, which I used to see at Gatwick. That's how old I am. Olympus 593 engines inside this Concorde. Another beautiful example. She's very clean, it has to be said. This has been one of their last examples, I would have thought. These are what we were talking about earlier on, folks. These huge, I'd imagine they're vortex generators on the wing. One way to tell a Caravelle, actually, but also another very low ground clearance, like a. It's actually got a nose a bit like a Dreamliner, isn't it? Look how close these guys are. Look how small that cockpit is, man. There's quite a breeze out here, which basically means hopefully we'll have a nice breeze up on the hill for when we're spotting the test aircraft later on. A400M with these beautifully massive, great big props, 8-bladed, and as you can see, as they are there, from what I can see, they're actually they're not feathered, but look at the angle of those props. Very peculiar, very, sort of like petals almost. Europrop International. So this is pure Airbus design. Oh yeah. Yes, it does. Yes, at a quick glance. At a quick glance. Yes. Wow, a massive, great big nose on her, look. A400M Grizzly. Refueling probe, or boom, or whatever you like to call it. As you can see there. She's closed off as well, so we can't go on board her, unfortunately, folks. But just gives you a... Oh. Stand by. Blimey, which one are we talking about? Which one is he talking about? Oh, really? Right, okay, well, we'll have to go in. The one, what, the weather reconnaissance aircraft that we just looked at. Just remember, folks, this is not part of Airbus, this museum. It's an independent museum, but they work with Airbus to do tours of the A380 and the A350 assembly lines. Wow. Well, Thunderbolt Dragon, one of our members, telling us, interestingly enough, he's obviously got hold of the reg of that aircraft, hasn't he? Oh. Ah, okay. Yes. Yes, yeah. Okay, let's have another look at that. Let's, so one of our members, Thunderbolt Dragon, telling us that this particular aircraft here was originally What was it, Gilly? Transport. Originally the personal transport of the governor of Kentucky, and then sold to the Meteorological Aviation Center, I think. But how about that? What's he doing now? Wow. There we go. SA226-80 Merlin IVA. There we go. The Fairchild Swearingen. Wow. Well, interesting. I mean, that is the one thing that is very interesting, folks. Whenever you're wandering around a museum, always see if you can check out the registration. And then, where would you have found that? Airfleets.net, would it be? Oh, it's on the website. It's okay. There's a list of the aircraft, folks, which you can see. But also, here we go. It's probably on here. Is it actually on here? This is aircraft's illustrious career, starting life as the private aircraft of the governor of Kentucky, before being brought by Météo France. So there we go. It's actually on there. Wow. So if take the time to have a read. Now, the question is, oh, here we go. Okay, folks.
Ils sont tous cassés, tu vas y monter. Le plafond,
Well, there you go, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. A little free view that we put out because of the fact that we've been given access by the museum here. So get yourselves out here if you can. Check them out online, of course. We'll be able to. We'll be putting the link up in the description on the Facebook and YouTube feeds a little bit later on, or they may already be in there, I don't know. But make sure if you're coming out to Toulouse to look at the aircraft, or to visit Toulouse in general, then come have a look around here, because it's a fantastic museum with a lot of information, a lot of history on Airbus. And then of course you are slap bang right next to the assembly lines for Airbus here in Toulouse. Thanks very much for joining me. I've been Jerry Dyer, and you've been watching Big Jet TV. Thank you very much indeed. We'll see you later. Okay, GP, go for the cut.